Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the BLACKBIRD PLC final results investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab that's situated just on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. These will be available via your Investor Meet company dashboard, and we'll notify you by email when these are ready for your review. Before we begin, I would like to submit the following poll, and if you'd give that your kind attention, I'm sure the company will be most grateful. And I'll now like to hand you over to Ian Mcdonough, CEO. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining our investor presentation again for the final results for 2021. We're getting quite used to this now, so I hope it's still an enjoyable format. Please go ahead and submit as many questions as you can, and we'll try and get our best to get through them in the meeting. I'm joined here today in the office here with Stephen White, and also by Zoom by Stephen Streeter, so he can answer questions as well. Right, I'm going to start off with slide 3, just as a recap for, I think, probably everyone's knowledge already, but just in case you didn't know, BLACKBIRD PLC is an AIM-listed business. We are a software development company that sells the BLACKBIRD content creation tools that we sell to many major media companies around the world. We have a cross-trade from AIM back to the OTCQX in the USA. This is something that we put into force last year, 2021. I have to say it was done at the height of, or just at the beginning of, another COVID lockdown. So we haven't had a great deal of chance to promote that yet, and that's something we're going to be doing this year. The reason that we think that there'll be an interest there for the US market is because the majority of our customers are US based and actually are household names in the US, whereas they're not particularly in the UK. Growth is really strong in the US. We currently have a market cap of 64 million, clearly some distance away from where our high was recently. Obviously, world events have had an impact, but we're all confident that we will be well back up there and surpass those numbers at some point very soon. We are an IP company at our heart, and when I came to the market last time, I did one of these IMC meetings just before Christmas. We talked about having 16 patents at that time, including 6 that were pending. We come this time, we've actually got 18 now. We've got 14 that are granted and 4 more that are pending. And that number of patents will grow as we develop new products in new markets, and they'll be innovative and differentiated around these patents. We're completely cloud native, and so that actually has a number of massive advantages, including being very efficient. And what we've been saying to the market actually is we're very efficient at decarbonizing media supply chains. This is different to a net zero argument, which I know has come in for quite a lot of flack over the last few weeks. Our decarbonizing is actually about lowering costs, not about raising costs. We can take a lot of carbon out of the media supply chain, but also a lot of cost out of the media supply chain. It's really about saving energy at source. For the work that we did in this area, we were awarded the Best Tech Company 2021 by the Sports Pro OTT Awards, and actually really gratifyingly the inaugural Environmental Sustainability Award Company of 2021 by the IABM Awards. So it's really nice to see that a challenger brand like ourselves is getting recognition for the work that we're doing in this area. The board hasn't changed for the last couple of times we've been on the roadshow. But just to remind you, we've got some significant shareholders here on the board. Myself and my family own around 7.5% of the stock. Stephen Streeter owns around 17% of the stock, and all the board are investors in the business. Steve White and Andy Bentley actually also invested in the last round, as well as myself and my family. So we're very much nailed our colours to the mast, and we're very much believe in the success of the company. So 2021 highlights. Well, this was really transformational 2021 because we did our first tech licensing deal back in September. This means that our technology, the magic that's at the heart of BLACKBIRD, is now going to be put into another company's product and sold around the world. The company in question is a global broadcast company. They have an excellent reputation, and they have a global business. So when that product gets launched middle of this year, then the co-branded product will be in many newsrooms and sports production rooms around the world. So it's a really big step forward for us. Financially, it was the largest deal that we've done by a factor of 2. It included a minimum guarantee. It included a development fee. Steve will talk you through the details. It also was underpinned by a minimum guarantee of a percentage of gross sales. So minimum guarantee underpinning a percentage of gross sales of that product. Second big highlight of last year, we did a successful, and I'm sure you all agree, timely placing in December at a price of 28p, which is double the price that we did it in 2019. And we raised £8 million to provide funds to enter new markets. We've always talked about the applicability of our software and our patents and the technology to enter new markets, and this is now a really excellent chance for us to show that and prove that. Revenues for the year are up 32%, another record year. Order book, more impressively even, is up 93% year on year. We broke the £2 million mark for the first time in revenue, and we'll talk you through a little bit of the details through that as we go. And we got some super A-list client wins last year. Since I last spoke to you, we brought on FIFA. Also through the year, we brought on our first US major with CBS, which is now part of Paramount. We also brought on Univision, Eurovision, and others. We also showed ourselves as thought leaders last year. We released 2 papers, one around total cost of ownership, which is about taking cost out of the media supply chain, and also about decarbonising the video industry as a whole, showcasing Blackbird's independently derived data points that show that we're 91% more carbon efficient in certain workflows than our competitors. This is a slide that really just shows historically where we've added routes to market since I joined the company. So I joined in late 2017. So we were working back in Soho then, just on small production house deals. We moved into infrastructure deals in 2017, added OEM partnerships in 2018, really built robust APIs and multifunctional APIs in 2020. Which has enabled us to have a deeper integration for major sporting events with the likes of EVS, and also powering other companies' products in the Powered by Blackbird model. What we raised money for just before Christmas, the £8 million raise, was really to develop the green block there that you can see at the top, which is to look at products powered by products outside of our core vertical. Of media and entertainment content creation. So this is an example of how that looks. If you think of this entire dartboard as the video world, the media entertainment content creation is really the slice at the top. That's the bit that we're in now. And if you look at the Blackbird IP circle in the middle and move to the outer part of the circle, you can see in that cake slice, the first product is the Blackbird platform, and that is the product that we sell every day through our direct and OEM deals. The next section for that will be public cloud. That will be a self-service, scalable backend that will allow us to attack the long tail of media and entertainment content creation. If you continue to move outside to the edge of that circle, you can see the word roll-up. Now, this is about M&A activity. This is about buying other companies in our space to bulk up. Because we have such incredibly powerful and applicable IP, we don't think that's the right way to go. We would prefer instead to move around the dartboard, pretty much in a clockwise fashion, moving into different verticals. So the first one you can see there is distribution, and that is a key area of focus for us to look at in our first or our second product, I should say. Now, probably most of you who've joined this before will recognise this slide. It's just to recap. It shows that the total cost of ownership versus share of wallet, really. So on the left-hand side, you can see 2 bar charts. One is our competition's total cost of ownership, and the one on the right is Blackbird's total cost of ownership, which shows that we are a 35% cost savings on the whole media supply chain. And that's important. We're a challenger brand, and we need to be compelling to our potential prospects in order to win business. So we need to show that competitive edge. However, on the right hand side, we also see that because we sell a larger basket of goods, BLACKBIRD is actually taking a 10x share of wallets from every deal that we're in. So when you look at the competitor in the market, BLACKBIRD is taking a 10x of that. And that's reflected here on this slide, which shows the total addressable market of our video editing product versus the serviceable addressable market. So I'll start with the orange circle here. The orange circle is the video editing software market forecast for 2025. It's $1.1 billion. The brown circle in the middle of that is the part of the market that our software is applicable to directly. And that's $0.6 billion, so $600 million. Because we sell a larger basket of goods, the yellow circle is our serviceable addressable market. It just demonstrates that we've got a unique product that can satisfy many needs, and therefore we have a larger market. The dotted line around the edge of that circle is demonstrative of the fact, because we now have an IP licensing business, we have an IP licensing edge to our route to market, that we have a much larger market to go at. We haven't determined the size of that yet, but it really just shows that it's large and it's there, and we have that advantage now. I just want to recap what's happened to our promotion of our fact that we're decarbonising for companies. So we launched a sustainability paper, spring 2021. Quite incredibly, I think we were one of the first in the industry, the media, entertainment and video industry, to do so, which had some compelling independently derived data points. It showed BLACKBIRD was up to 91%, used 91% less carbon than competitors over a 2-week sporting event. We were very highly showcased at the time on certain media channels, including Sky News. The LSE, London Stock Exchange, awarded us the Green Economy mark. And then towards the end of the year, the work that we did and the profile that we built also allowed us to win the IABM Environmental Sustainability Company of the Year. Since then, we've been involved in the IBC Accelerator Programme together with Sky, the BBC, BT Sport and NBC Universal, supported with Amazon, Microsoft and BLACKBIRD and others. So the editor of choice used in that accelerator program to demonstrate how cloud tools can reduce environmental impact, BLACKBIRD was the editor of choice. We've also been put onto the Albert list of approved suppliers. Albert is the sustainability arm of BAFTA, and is pretty much the world leader in recommending sustainable workflow tools. We're the only editing platform to be on that list, and we're very, very proud to be so. So it's been a successful campaign so far. We've brought people along with us, including the names I mentioned before. We're recently on a webinar with Microsoft as well. This is very much an important story in Europe at the moment, but it's a growing story in the US as well. So the 3 major European customers that we brought on in 2021 have all drilled down and asked lots of questions about our green credentials. Microsoft is pretty much the front runner in the US in terms of understanding that, but it is a growing story in the US market as well. So we mentioned before that we've raised some money in the markets to develop new products. This slide is just really to amplify the fact that although there will be a new market that we're entering, it will be DNA that's common between our current products and our new products. And that is the fact that we've got the same DNA at the heart of it. That's the BLACKBIRD magic that is accessible, it's efficient, it's low cost in terms of financials and also environment, and it will always be highly differentiated. So it will be innovative, relentlessly innovative, and that's really key to note. So, in case anybody thinks there are any handbrake turns in launching a new product, absolutely not the case. We'll be building everything on the unique patterns that Stephen and his team have built over the years. So just some logos here to amplify how the fact that some of the major media companies in the world are coming towards BLACKBIRD and joining us in our quest. So first of all, we've got CBS, our first US major, came on board August last year. We do all CBS's international soccer and European soccer on BLACKBIRD now. Well, they do it, I should say. We're the software partner. Univision is North America's largest Spanish language service. We launched this service middle of last year. and we've already expanded it. So there was a recent expansion in January of this year. The global financial news organization that I'm not allowed to say the name of, but I think you guys probably all use this service, that has also expanded in the last few months, and so that's another land and expand. In terms of European customers, we've got some lovely names now on our roster: EBS, FIFA, BT, Eurovision Sport as well, which is a recent addition. And we actually held a webinar just this Monday. Eurovision held the webinar, I should say, to attract its 115 members that they have in the EBU to look at Blackbird and take on Blackbird as part of an OEM model. So really some super new logos for this year, which really shows the quality of the awareness and the tool and everything else that we've got in the market, the sales team and the marketing that we've got there, that's really paying dividends. Right, I'm going to pass over to Steve now to talk about some of the numbers.
Thank you, Ian. So revenue was up 32% year on year. When we came to you at the interims, we were up 21% year on year. So we had a really strong half two, booking 1.2 million of revenue. Ian showed you some of the logos on the previous page, but yeah, we had a really strong performance again in North America and growth 30% year on year. And North America accounts for 1.25 million of our revenue. The chart on the right-hand side, the yellow blocks are monthly recurring revenues, and the red line is our total revenue in the month. As you can see, the yellow blocks have grown. So our monthly recurring revenue has grown by 42% over the last 2 years, at just under 160,000 per month in December 2021. You'll see the gap between the red line and the yellow block being much larger in December 2021. These are one-off items, such as the development fee that we recognise on our tech licensing deal. 2021 was a transitional year, and we were very much setting ourselves up for the future. The tech licensing deal that Ian mentioned, we'll have another 540,000 euros of revenue booked in 2022. And then when the product launched, we've got a 15,000 per month pounds worth of minimum guarantee for 2022. And that figure grows over the 5 years of the deal. We also didn't book any revenues from FIFA in the year. We closed that deal mid-December, and we've deployed in the early part of this year. So our contracted but unrecognised revenue, or an indication of our order book going forwards, great progress made in the year. We're up 93% year on year to 3.7 million pounds. At the end of the year, we'd secured 1.8 million of revenue for 2022. And as indicated in the RNS, at the end of February, we've actually secured 2.03 million of revenue for this year, which is pretty much all the revenue we booked for last year. So we're starting 2022 in a really strong financial position. Our cash burn, we've made some investment in both 2020 and 2021 in terms of staff, in particular in the R&D team, to make sure that we keep our competitive edge and stay ahead of the competition in product and in sales too. But we brought it down by 100,000 year on year. We have very, very strong gross margins, so as revenues do grow at that top line, they will start to flow through to EBITDA. We have a strong balance sheet. We have no debt, and as at the end of the year, we had 12.8 million in cash and short-term investments.
Thanks, Steve. So to conclude the presentation today, just to remind you on the product side of things, that the product is highly carbon efficient. It's also bandwidth efficient, it's hardware efficient, it's time efficient, and cost efficient, all of which make a compelling case in these times. We've doubled the order book, pretty much, or 93% up on the order book in the last year. And as Steve said, by the end of February 2022, we'll also have pretty much the same amount of money in revenue for 2022 as we had in the whole of 2021. So a really good platform to spring from. We also have new routes to market through Powered by Blackbird. We have a growing patent portfolio. As I said, we've gone from 16 patents back at Christmas time already to 18, and that will grow further. And we are very applicable to new markets. We've talked about this a number of times over recent presentations. We've now got that capital on board to enter these new markets. We'll be bringing the team on board to attack those new markets, and so watch this space. So thank you very much. I think there are some pre-submitted questions, which I think Mark will go through first, and then we can ask those.
Ian, Stephen, that's great. Thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab that's just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But just while the team take a few moments to review those questions submitted already, I would like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Ian, Stephen, you're absolutely right. We did receive a number of pre-submitted questions from investors ahead of today's event. And if I may, I wanted to start off the Q&A session with these. The first one reads as follows. The share price has halved and deals seem to be few and far between. Do you think it would be in the best interest of shareholders to try and find a buyer for the company, especially while BlackBird is still ahead of the game?
I think the clue for that question is in the first few words, which is the share price is halved. We don't think this will be an opportune moment to find a buyer for the company. We have so much potential, and it's halved on the back of external events that generally we have no control over. You know, anyone that's been in the market long enough knows that portfolios can go up and down, and we would look for you know the future of BlackBird to be very much on the up, despite some temporary setbacks on share price.
Thank you very much for that. The second question that we have here pre-submitted reads as follows. When will the new codec be released? We understood that it would be released last year, but it was delayed.
Stephen, do you want to pick that one up?
Yes, I'm happy to pick that up. So the way the technology works, we have very strategic technology, and it moves forward on multiple fronts. So, for example, the low carbon aspect of it, and we've won the inaugural award for environmental friendly technology in video production. That was envisaged and implemented over many years, and now with Russia threatening to cut off the gas and the electricity, this is sort of really coming to its own. So the thing about BlackBird 10 is it is a very advanced technology, but we haven't needed it for any of our existing customers or markets. So we haven't rolled that out because every month we delay implementing it, the technology moves on another month and the markets move on another month, and we're better suited. But I have to say that the fundraising we did was to explore other markets where this sort of technology will be much more applicable, as well as, of course, being applicable in our existing editing market. So it's really to do with market needs, is why we haven't released that. But the market is moving fast and we will be ready to meet it.
Thank you very much for that, Stephen. The next question we have here reads as follows. You mentioned that by the middle of this year, a standard licensing agreement would have been set up. Are there any contractors ready to participate as soon as this is ready, or could the licensing agreement have to wait before it becomes taken up by contractors?
I think that question refers to the Power by BlackBird deal that we have with the global broadcast company. There is that is going to be in the hands of the global broadcast company to roll out, and this is a product they've been looking for some time. We think there'll be a strong appetite for it, and we believe there's already a first major customer in line for it. But this is where we're part of another product which will be sold out. I think that's what the question refers to. Please, if the person who asked it wants to clarify that, then happy to answer the second part of it.
Thank you very much for that. The next question we have here reads as follows. The company seems to have made a decent gross margin, but has never made a net profit for 20 years. Indeed, there is over 20 million of retained losses in the balance sheet, along with a similar share premium account. Is this close to break even soon, or are you just going to keep issuing new shares to fund the losses?
So no, we're not going to keep issuing new shares. What we have indicated is that within the resources that we had prior to the raise at Christmas, which was around £5 million, the core business would get to profitability. The additional funds that we raised at Christmas were to enter new markets, as Stephen just said. So this is to take the applicability of the patents and the technology into new markets to grow in different markets at different rates. So that's I think the question was getting at that. So the quick answer is no, absolutely not. We'll be reaching profitability within the £5 million that we had prior to Christmas, and with the new money that we raised, we'll be looking at new markets.
Thank you very much for that. The next question we have here reads as follows. Can we have more news on OEMs? Are more to be signed up soon? And what are each of the OEMs producing in revenues?
Do you want to take on the financial side of that?
Yeah, on the financial side, it's written in the annual report, but the OEM revenue was up 43% year on year to 930,000. So good progress is being made there. We can't just, due to confidentiality, list every deal that gets made. But where we can, we do give news to the market, such as the expansions that we did with announced with Town News during the year.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yes, there will be more coming on. There will be more coming on in terms of that. So just a quick addendum to that.
Thank you very much for that. And I know you've just touched on this previously, but if you could please provide a bit more color. Other than the general licensing agreement being prepared, in the meanwhile, what is the likelihood of another large licensing agreement in the near future?
Well, that is a focus for the company as a whole, not just the sales team. So I think the likelihood is strong.
Thank you very much. And the last pre-submitted question we have here reads as follows. Can you please explain what a company that has for many years claims to have a leading technology platform with no rivals has not seemed to progress with a share price and still low turnover?
Yeah, not exactly sure about what you mean by the share price. I mean, the share price has in the past 12 months gone up to 40 pence. And I just refer back, there are some headwinds at the moment that I think the global stock markets have. So, we can't be held responsible for those, I think. In terms of the turnover, we're a challenger brand in a market that is quite entrenched, and we've done well to turf out some behemoths out of some media supply chains, and continue to do so. As you can see from the brands that we just brought on the last year, we're winning hearts and minds, certainly within that industry. In addition to that, we've also recognized that we have the potential for our technology to meet demands and build products in other areas. So that's why we did the race before Christmas as well. So we're having more than one dog in the race, in that sense.
Thank you for that. Ian, Stephen, as you can see, we've also received a number of questions throughout today's presentation, and thank you to all of those investors for submitting their questions. Could I please ask you to read out the questions and give a response where it's appropriate to do so, and then I'll pick up from you at the end. Thank you.
There's a question from William. We don't seem to have made any major deals for the editor outside of sports and news. Why hasn't traction been greater with the pandemic, etc., etc.? So the key for that is that we really have been focusing on sports and news in the sense that we have the most USPs, the most unique selling points within the sports and news sector. The inputs and outputs, the integrations are for sports and news are things we understand and know very well, and our APIs are really focused on that. As you move outside of sports and news, things do get a little more complex, and I think that's probably where we haven't yet applied our focus. So that's a good answer for you there. I think that the revenue growth over the year has been good, and the advances in Powered by Blackbird that you will see. It's difficult to see it right now. You're hearing our words about this rollout, but it's difficult to see it until it's actually launched. Middle of the year will be transformation. Good. Okay. So question from Sean.
Yeah, the next question is from Sean is how much of the 8 million raise was left after expenses? That was about £7.5 million.
And also a question from Sean. Approximately 30% of revenue goes to pay the board. Will the board take a pay cut given that the company is still loss-making? Well, we don't think it's in the interest of the investors to dilute the talent we have in leading the company. Certainly, as a shareholder, I don't think that's the right way to go. And we're in a competitive market for talent. It's getting more competitive, as I'm sure you're aware, Sean, especially on the tech side of things. So we don't think that by reducing or diluting the talent we have available to us, that's going to be successful for the company. Don't think it's in the investors or the company's interest. Question from William. What went wrong with Tata? Can we expect any financially meaningful deals through Tata in the first half of 2022? We are in progressive conversations with Tata. I think it will be verging into the confidentiality areas to go too deep on that. it hasn't progressed as quickly as we would like it to for multiple reasons, but we are looking to solve that issue and think that we can. So we'll have news for you when we have it. Question from OJ. When do you expect the core video editing business, excluding the new Powered by Blackbird market, to become profitable? I referred back to the answer a few moments ago. Sorry, like John Major. That we said that we get profitable within the 5 million that we had in the coffers before Christmas. Question from Harvey. Where do you see gross margins in the medium term? Steve, maybe on that one.
Yeah, we'll still continue to have, strong gross margins. It was 92% last year, but yeah, the way that Stephen's designed the technology and for future products, etc., we'd expect those to be above 90% still going forwards.
Yeah, really high. Question from Philip. Ian, did you manage to visit the USA on that trip you'd expected to? No, I haven't. And I think I've been confounded by events related to COVID and events that have happened since. I am going, well, we are going as a team to NAB in April, so next month, and I will add on to that trips to various other US cities. It's been a combination of whether people would actually physically want to see you, because it's a little bit different state by state over there. But there is a major show, now in the US, and people are already coming out of the homes and into their offices. So I think now is the right time. But yeah, a little bit later than I thought it was going to be. Question from Johnny. Impressive revenue growth last year. Thank you, Johnny. But most was not new recurring revenue. Please can you expand on how that revenue growth is made up? Steve, you want to say that?
Yeah, well, we gave an indication when we were going through the presentation. So our monthly recurring revenue was just under 160,000 in December 2021. There will be one-off items this year, such as the development fee for the tech licensing deal, and also we've just done a deployment at the major games whatever in the Far East.
Yeah. Okay. Related question there from William. So we'll go to Pat's question. Are directors currently allowed to purchase shares? That is a question I don't think I can even answer. So I'm forbidden from answering your question, but that's a tricky one, Pat. No, if it's during the LTIP period, then directors are not going to be buying shares. That's clear. Question from Mark K. Are you able to provide an update on public cloud? Yes. Well, we were approved by Amazon just in January for our FTR, our foundational technical review. Working with public cloud is an absolute focus, not only for our editor, but also for anything that we do in the distribution space. And so that is a key program of work for 2022. Thanks, Mark, for the question. Right, OJ, your annual report states that the first prototype Powered by Blackbird product devised around the Blackbird player will be launched in H2 2022. That is a prototype that we will be launching in the second half of 2022. At this stage, it's too early to give an indication of the size of that market. What I would say is that content creation versus content distribution it's much more heavily weighted towards content distribution. But it's too early to give you any exact market sizings when the product is still being formed and normed internally. So, but we will when we get that, OJ. Thanks for the question. Question from Howard. What is Blackbird's penetration of the major streaming companies like Netflix, Amazon, Disney? As this is where there's been explosive growth in production. Well, we do see there's been a huge amount of production, a huge amount of growth in the OTT sector, and we have a number of OTT customers and growing rapidly. We don't have Netflix and Disney directly, although we do service Amazon Prime through one of our OEMs. So there is potential to grow in those accounts for sure. So I hope that answers the question. From Mark, read the new product development. 1, do you have a timescale for release? 2, who do you see as its main competition? Well, the only date we're giving at the moment, Mark, is that we will have a prototype in the market by around the middle of this year. My well, we're holding the developers' feet to the fire, obviously, and making sure that that is coming out, but also supplementing Stephen's team as well with that. Who do you see as his main competition? I go back to the earlier question. It's a little bit early to say who the main competition will be because the product is still being formed and normed internally. I'm working hard on that, but as soon as we know, we'll let you know. Question from Harvey. You mentioned your competition is quite entrenched. What non-financial KPIs could you share as a lead indicator of future revenue? I think we share them all with you, Harvey, the ones that we've got.
Yeah, the annual report expands on them a little more. The other KPI that we do have in there, which is is really important, is our retention level of our existing customers. So of our 2022 customers, we retained revenue from over 97%. So yeah, very, very high. And yeah, those people we tend to lose, tend to be where they've gone out of business. So factors beyond our control.
Good. Question from Nick B. How is recruiting of new talent going to service new product development? Well, new talent for us is really divided into two areas: product and development. There'll be heads coming on board in both areas. The question earlier about AWS was also quite key. Is that we want to make sure that we have expertise in that area. So we've got a lot of talent internally. This is not about having a new department that does a whole new thing, but that we do recognise that we've got to bring some expertise in certain areas that we don't currently have. So I don't want to kind of muddy that one too much, Nick. We will be bringing it across product and development though. Question from Colin: with around 5 full-time salespeople, Blackbird is still making worryingly few new sales. Why do you think that is? Well, Colin, we disagree with you. I think that the sales are performing well. Of course, we'd like it to go faster. As I mentioned, you're winning hearts and minds at fairly entrenched accounts sometimes with some large competition. But I think that sales are going well and they're very high profile. The Powered by Blackbird model will add an extra boost to that level of sales. And I say the middle of this year, you'll see some quite interesting news around rolling that out as well. Right, Sean. Sorry to badger again. No problem, Sean. I don't mind this at all. That's good. Talk of a new product is very interesting. Can you supply any details? So this will be a very short one. I think the details I will share, Sean, is we think it will be around distribution. You've seen our player before. The player has some really interesting facets to it around speed, around efficiency, and around how much data can be collected through the various shares. So it's going to be in and around that area, Sean. Stephen, I don't know whether you want to add that. I feel like I've hogged the limelight here completely on all these questions. And nothing's answered.
Well, we haven't announced the details, but the thing to bear in mind is that our player is actually a program. So although it looks like it's playing back video, it's actually can do anything we choose. And when you share the video, you actually share the program too. You share the whole experience. So anything that we add in goes with the video. So that opens up a huge range of possibilities for innovation, and you'll see some of those at the half year.
Thanks, Stephen. Question from Mark. You've mentioned when the licensing deal will commence mid-year, but when will the partner be announced? Could this be an earlier date? Well, this is really in the partner's hands, and they are launching a product. And so when the product is launched, I think they want as much surprise and as much fanfare as they can get, as much marketing buzz and push as they can get. So I think it's probably going to be in and around the same time. I don't think it will be much earlier, but it's really in their hands. A question from Pat. In the December presentation following the placing, Stephen described the player as a program. In that, actually, Stephen, maybe take this question because I think it sounds like it's going to be.
Yes, the whole thing is much more flexible than a traditional solution. So because it runs in a browser, for example, we already have 4 billion people who can use it. And if we decide to upgrade it today, then today those 4 billion people can get the upgrade. And that is different. And it's not just the way the technology works. There's a whole culture behind big companies versus small companies, for example. We can just be much more nimble and we can push things through much faster. And I think you'll see that after launch, that it's not a one-stop shop. It's going to be progression of innovation that people have never really experienced in players. I mean, players themselves are very old now. The idea that you play back a video and you can shuttle a bit around, it's just so out of date compared with what we can do in the future. And so I think you'll see people will find it a refreshing change to have much more, what can I say, much more interesting things in their player. Let's put it like that.
Good, great. And a question from Mark. Quite a cheeky question, Mark. Thank you very much for that. Could you expand on the role the firm played in the Olympics? And I cannot confirm or deny that BLACKBIRD was included, involved in the Olympics, but should there have been major games, then BLACKBIRD would have been remote editor of choice for teams based in other countries outside of the country where the games took place, namely much closer to where we are now. I don't really want to go into too much detail on that because it's not because I'm being coy or evasive. There are major reasons why I can't do that. So I hope you understand, and I hope you're smiling when I'm giving this answer. But I'd like to give you more information, but I can't. Okay, great. I think that's the end of the questions we've got currently. If anyone's got any more clarifications.
Ian, Stephen, thank you very much for addressing all of those questions that have come through from investors this morning. Perhaps before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to the company, if I could please ask you for a few closing comments. We have just had a few questions come in just now as I've been speaking, but we can make these questions available to you after the presentation unless you want to take them now.
Yes, we'll take them now. That's fine. Thank you, Sean. I just saw Sean's note say, "Bravo, a lot more confident after this presentation." Good. I'm glad about that. Thank you. We are also.
Thank you very much for that. Stephen, Ian, Steve, if I could please ask you for your closing comments, and after which I'll redirect investors to give you their feedback. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yes. So just a few closing comments from me. The company is in great financial shape, has an excellent reputation, has a world-beating technology, is financed to enter markets outside of our core, and has a happy, talented team behind it, with I hope some very happy shareholders. So let's deal with these latest setbacks in the share price and just move on and achieve the potential that this company is able to do. Thank you very much.
Ian, Stephen, thank you very much for taking time to update investors. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of BLACKBIRD PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session, and good morning to you all.